Alright, no script, no plan. I'm only vaguely sure what the topic of this video is. What could go wrong? So I was doing Math Academy the other day, very inconsistently, because I'm torn between like 40 different projects and a bunch of metacognition nonsense that's getting me nowhere and making me sound pretentious on YouTube. And I finally got around to doing one of these. And it's like a super basic De Morgan's laws of negation, something that like everyone knows. Like I've known this since I was a toddler. And I was reading it, and now that I have this new frame of mind, this new like meta-empowering, learning, understanding your cognitive tendencies meditation bullshit, I have this like idea that I have to understand things at the lowest level of abstraction. And I was getting just kind of like discouraged and befuddled all last night when I was reading this, let's see. I don't know. I was reading this all up, right? It's like, what is the negation of the following compound statement? 6 is a composite, and 5 does not divide 3, I believe is how you would read that. And then I was reading this. De Morgan's laws posit that the negation of a conjunction of two statements is equivalent to the disjunction of the negated individual statements. It can be stated symbolically as follows. And I have this notion, right? I guess this is going to be the core thesis of the video. I have like all these kind of ideas about what I should understand and how I should understand it. I've come to this conclusion or figuring out this distinction between knowing a fact like it's trivia, like just like, sure, I know what all these symbols mean, and then this like deeper, intuitive, absorbed understanding where I just like, this is just a fundamental pattern of the world to me, and I look at it. And I'm looking at this this problem, right? And I feel like I keep staring at it, but it's still just a piece of trivia to me, and it's not an absorbed pattern I can see about the world. And I actually think this is quite a harmful way to think. This is getting so meta, but so I just have this like, I thought I was escaping this perfect ideal, right? I want to be like absolutely cracked. There is something weird on this sweater. I don't know. I'll deal with that after the video. I want to really be like a great programmer, a great mathematician. I want to understand things at the deepest level of abstraction. No building on things I don't fully intuitively understand. But the problem with that is that I'm creating this ideal in my mind very subtly that like I've articulated that, but in my mind there's this certain kind of way that I think that experience will go in my head. Like I'd imagine seeing this statement and like sitting here reading these things, understanding what each of these words means, like writing down exactly what like I think the definition of each of these things is, and then like checking the math dictionary definition. And well, that's an actionable thing. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I have this idea that like I'm doing this Math Academy thing, and the intuition is going to be much more immediate, and I'll be able to feel it much more than I am here. Like for me, this still does not feel intuitive. It just doesn't feel. It doesn't feel like I'm learning as effectively as I want to be. But I'm starting to realize that that's just like this ideal that I have in my mind, and that it's insidious. It keeps coming back. Like it's very easy to understand intellectually that we have these expectations of what learning something will be like, and that what being cracked will entail and what the process will entail. And then when you get there, if you've had any expectation at all, it's going to deviate from reality, and then you'll either be like disappointed or something won't line up. There'll be like a trace, which is how this Buddhist book I was reading puts it. It's like, yeah, there'll be some trace of your thinking, some trace of your desire and your gaining idea on this, and then it just won't line up well. It won't be a pure good experience. And that's what was happening to me with this, and it just made me kind of discouraged. But I'm not discouraged, because all this like meta, how do I learn the best? How do I blah, 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 blah. All this nonsense, right, is just kind of like procrastination for actually doing the thing. And I get that intellectually. It's difficult for me to give up all this meta stuff, because I deep down like don't want to do the actual work. But I know that doing the actual work, like the patterns, the intuition emerges from doing the work. It emerges after you've done tons and tons of proofs in math problems. And I know that because it's been told to me by smart people over and over and over again. Like just do the work. Don't worry that this intuition is not perfectly clicked with you as soon as you read it. Just keep doing it over and over again and it'll emerge. And I've experienced that actually firsthand. It's like what I want, what I'm expecting out of reading this math stuff is this feeling of intuition that I have for other, like, I'm trying to think what the strongest, I don't know, like some programming things in Vim that I do, there's a different feeling to it. There's patterns I've seen again and again and again, and I want that same feeling for math to just emerge out of the blue. But those feelings of like seeing all the patterns clearly and having that intuition, they're not built like that. They're built after a long time of actually doing the work over and over again. So sometimes I go back to my own comment sections. Like this video is kind of what I was talking about with like intuition versus information. And I just love to hear what people have to say. And I think like there's much more to be said for thinking over a piece of information that you've heard like relentlessly than just like trying to find the next piece of information that'll fix all the problems. It's kind of the thesis of the whole video, I guess. Not that my videos have very coherent theses. I just kind of think about things on the fly, but I have no tricks, but I have one idea that you might try. Go deep, not wide, as you can wherever your instinct leads you. Important thing here is to go deep into a single thing. That deep understanding will not give you wide knowledge, but it'll make it easier for you to acquire it. Goddamn Discord notifications. For example, if you're interested in programming languages, understand one of them deeply will give you the tools to very quickly understand the others. This will be quicker than learning many of them at lesser depth. And I've felt that myself. I've felt that feeling before. It'll give you a better understanding of what programming language is, where it fits into the ecosystem, and why it exists. The second most important thing is to follow your instinct. This is because the deeper you go, the harder it gets. There is less information and less people you can rely on. Therefore, if your instinct is not leading you, you will get lost. You'll give up. Choose wisely. That just is really, I think... You just have to keep going deeper. You just have to keep doing the math, and the stuff will emerge. That's what I hope. But there's this other part of me. Here's the recommendation for Math Academy actually. And I talked to this guy. He was a really, really smart programmer, and followed the same path. I love hearing people's little stories. Hyperverbal processing through monologues, which I often did, is not an efficient way to critique your ideas. It feels like you're thinking, but to understand your opinions, you should write. Whenever you write code, essays, or do problems, it's up to you. You have to avoid becoming a word cell and make sure that you actually are putting forms into the word that you and others can critique. The endless information faucet makes it feel like you understand the work that's come before you. It makes it easy to feel like you're cracked. Yeah. So anyway, back to Math Academy. Those two meta pieces of information actually didn't really help me understand math any better now that I'm thinking about it. But they were interesting little stories. So maybe that's an important conclusion of the video. But I don't know. I guess back to I feel like reading this sentence, I'm like, De Morgan's laws posit, like, I get what posit means, but do I really get what posit means? That the negation of a conjunction of two statements is equivalent. And conjunction, like, do I really get what a conjunction means? Do I really get what a statement is? It's just like, it's tough because I feel like this De Morgan's laws even are too high in abstraction for me. Maybe I'm just like staring into the abyss here and going insane, but like maybe I need ontology or something. I don't know, man. The problem is also Expectation, that really seems like the killer of everything here. Of just like, if I find the right thing to learn, it'll all click, and that's not going to happen. It's about practicing. Practice is what's important. It's not, you can't just like keep consuming information. And I don't know. It's also there's some expectation through time for me that I'll be at a certain, like, there should be a certain pace of progress. That's also, I think, a dangerous expectation where I think I should know certain things at a certain speed. I should be like making connections at a certain speed, and it's just not good to have that because it will almost never line up with reality. And it's really as simple as, if you want to be good at math, then do math. If you want to be good at programming, then program something. It's just like I'm doing my brain is doing everything in its power to like avoid that at the deep, like I have no problem programming, but at the deep, like into the marrow of programming, I my brain has this aversion to it that I understand but is hard to get around. An aversion to doing math, just like sitting there and figuring things out. And it just like, it takes a long time, and it takes like compounding knowledge over a long time to really get to build up all this intuition. And this expectation that I should have it already is like very detrimental for sure. um, and I know, like, even posting this video, I'm hoping that someone in the comments will have some solution to this current problem I have. And the solution really is just to do work. It's just like, yeah, just continually practice it. I figured it out for myself. God damn it. It's interesting though, like, knowing more often creates, in my experience, like more expectations of how something should be. And it seems like those expectations can be valuable. So I'll give a couple examples. Like the idea of deliberate practice. Like, I now have an expectation that everything I should do should be deliberately like pushing my abilities. I don't necessarily think that's a bad expectation at all. And then there's also like the idea, I've heard people tell me, reading philosophy, reading math books, in order to build my intuition and to learn effectively, what I should be doing is at every like every point the author's making, I should be trying to use my brain to like anticipate where the argument will go next, and then kind of slowly fine tuning that to solving problems rather than just absorbing information. And those are the two main examples I can think of expectations where I when I'm learning something, I'm trying to learn math, I have like these multiple things in the back of my mind, and then a lot of energy is actually wasted on like wondering if I'm doing these other things more effectively, if these meta learning strategies are if I'm applying them and reaping the most benefits from my time. It's this like curse of optimization for real. And I don't know, again, it goes back to this idea of an ideal, I guess, where I think if things can just click, I'll get into this like golden flow state of just being in this zone of perfect absorption, and like 80% of my focus will be on the math, and I'll be purely building intuition. But then in the back of my mind, I'm keeping like, I have I have loaded into memory these other two modules of deliberate practice and building intuition by predicting the next upcoming argument. And then I'll be verifying everything, and I'll have this like perfect ideal thing. And then I get down and do it. And because like I haven't been practicing learning for all that long relative to some serious academics, I sit down and I'm like, my mind is all over the place, like I do a little bit of math, and then 80% of my brain is suddenly consumed by deliberate practice as an idea. And then I'm like, oh, am I being deliberate enough? And then I'm focusing on improving the deliberateness of my practice rather than focusing on the math. And so I can see that like meta learning can be kind of a real trap and a real detriment. But I don't know, man. It's also like I'm not all that worried, to be honest, because continuing to like improve and have like an ideal is, it's not like I'm gonna post this video, I'm gonna say this stuff about like loading these different modules, and then one guy in the comments will be like, "Oh my god, dude, you've experienced the exact same thing that I've experienced 10 years ago, and I'm an insanely cracked developer at Google, and I can show you the exact trick to fix all this." As much as my brain wants that to be the case, it's not the case, and it doesn't. I have a hard time like understanding long-term propositions of learning, but I'm going in the right direction. I can see that it's just like a slow process of refining how you learn over and over again, of actually doing the math. And eventually, like once I get good enough at the math, I'll start to see these certain patterns. It's because it's worth being aware of deliberate practice, worth being aware of chaining conclusions myself. But yeah, it really all just comes back to an ideal, and it's like there is no ideal way to do this stuff. It doesn't exist. It's just a fabrication in your mind, and it just causes you a bunch of unnecessary pain, and it kind of corrupts your work to just hope that there's like an ideal way to learn. It's also just not true. And if you just keep doing it over time, it'll become clearer what you have to do. These problems that I feel like are big, detrimental learning problems are just eventually going to go away the more I do math. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully you got something out of this video. It was quite meta, but everyone has to go through this phase, maybe, or maybe not. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely am stuck in this dangerous thought pattern. Like, whenever I sit down to do something, I'm like addicted to premature optimization. That's why that quote is so aphorism, I guess, is so true. It's like you can look at it from a software perspective, but quotes and aphorisms often apply at like 20 levels deeper than you suspect. Like the more you look at them, the more the patterns continue to give. They continue to apply to different parts of life, and it's like I'm addicted to premature optimization. Like as soon as I start sitting down to do something, I'm always thinking like, how could I be doing this more effectively instead of just how could I be doing this? And so I see why that's the root of all evil, but it's an ongoing battle to overcome. It's not something I can really just one shot. I think you got to build up to being an effective little capitalism machine over years. You've got to just chip away at the problem. You can't just throw a shit ton of VC money in React components and expect like the next Apple. You're just going to get another shitty like business called Netlify or I don't know, Goo Calendar or some shit that just is like shitty looking modern capitalist churn out some profits type. That's not what I'm going for here with this channel or as a guy in general. That sounded weirdly gendered. Not that I really care about gender very much. It's just like that as a I don't know what the fuck. The point that I'm trying to articulate here is that I want to build like a very strong and slow foundation. I'm not like trying to skip huge chunks of work. Well, I actually am. I'm trying to avoid trying to skip huge chunks of work. The process of learning these things is going to be very slow and probably painful and deliberate, but that's what I want to do. I want to end up like Jonathan Blow one day. And the knowledge is slow, it's going to compound over time, but accepting a lot of the meta learning strategies like Feynman's technique and whatever are, I think, a very important step. And also like the ego stuff of knowing that like I'm such a complete noob compared to some of the people out there, and that's okay. Like I'm really not a very good programmer, not a very good mathematician. I just have this random initiative to talk about shit on the internet, which is somewhat of an advantage. And yeah, I just have to keep chipping away. Expectation and premature optimization, both roots of all evil.